Welcome back to Careers with Miss V. I'm so excited to bring another incredible guest. Today we are meeting with Dr. Hamood Al-Harthi, who is the founder and CEO of Majan Education. Welcome, Dr. Al-Harthi. How are you today?
I'm fine, Maria. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. Where are you zooming in from today?
From the middle of Muscat in Oman. Yeah.
I have to say, you're my very first guest zooming in from Oman. So I'm excited to have you on this interview with me and talking about your career insights. To say that you have a wealth of experience is an understatement, Dr. Al-Harthi. You have really been on all sides of education, and now as an entrepreneur and founder of Majan Education, I believe that you're now really able to not just see the commitment to education, but also be part of the changes that you are encouraging in the world of education. Before we get into all of these accomplishments and your drive and your commitment behind the roles that you've taken on, I thought I could take you back to when you were a younger teenager, around the time when most of your friends or peers or colleagues would have been thinking about what they want to do. How did you make those first choices to your future career?
First of all, thank you, Maria, for the interview. It's my honor. And you said I'm the first one from Oman, so that is another honor comes to me. If we go back again where we started, when we were in schools, there are different dreams, different ambitions for us as young, teenagers at that time. Especially we speak about a country like Oman, when that time opportunities were open for many people to compete for, and there was big social mobility in the country that time. You need to excel in education, and then the doors will be open for you. Personally, my dream was always to, I like the world, I like geography, I like travels, I like cultures. So I was one of my dreams was to go to become a diplomat. That was my dream, and and I worked for that. But in the year where I finished high school, or what we call the secondary school that time, the 12th grade, now we call it 12th grade. That year we had no political science in Oman at that time. And that year, they have no scholarships for political science. So I decided to go for something close to politics. And then I said, what is the available here in Oman? And I found that to study social studies, education social studies. So that how my life changed to education, and I loved education. I love, especially when it comes to social science, I connect social science with education, politics, with sociology, culture. So that was the starting point.
Amazing. How did you know that you were making the right choices? Or was that even something you thought about when you were younger? Because I know that's a big focus for young people today. It's this fear that they might not be making the right choice. How did you know inside yourself that that was the right choice for you?
See, always how I knew that it was the right choice. Simply, there are two things. First of all, we believe on our inner decisions, or what we think, what we need. So that's why, as I told you, the track of social studies, politics, all that, was among me. I remember when I was in primary school, I used to do in what they call it school broadcast, or school, I used to give the news, the international news. So I love the news, the international issues. So I continue on this. So I was kind of sure that it is my decision, it is my right choice. Even that time we had no, what they call them, school counselors, or those career guidance that time. So it was depending on ourselves, asking our families, asking friends. But generally, I think work behind your feelings, what you love. This is, I think, the starting point. That even, by the way, that time I'm just saying, I have the choice in Oman. We have whether to go for with local arts stream in higher in secondary education or science stream. Science stream, you speak about maths, physics, chemistry. Art stream more into social studies, languages, and other things. Even I was good at math and physics, chemistry, but because my love is more into the social science, I went there. So that was like, I'm sure that was a right decision.
Brilliant. Okay, I'm going to take you through the academic pathways that you have gone through. You started with the Bachelor's of Arts in Teaching Social Studies. You went on to your Master's in Sociology of Education, more specifically in the reaction of Omani students in England towards the interculturality of the English society. You then went on and did your Ph.D. in Social and Comparative Analysis of Education, in International and Development Education. Your research was a student-faculty power-knowledge relations focus, the implication of the internet as a source of knowledge in the College of Education, Sultan Qaboos University. And after 2002, you went on to teach. You worked as the Undersecretary of the Ministry of Education in Oman, and now you've established your private education consultancy company. And all of those other things in between, which is incredible experiences of you supervising and teaching both young students, older students, adults, PhD students, and then of course being a role model in education, not just in Oman, but across the globe. How do you sum it all up for yourself? Clearly, education is a focus for you, but underneath it all, what was the driving force that made you decide not only to pursue that first degree, but to continue pursuing and continue making a positive impact in education?
It's simply because I do believe education is the key. Education is like, the key for change, for social change, for economic, for social mobility. I came, frankly, from a low-income family, but through education, I managed to be the one I'm here right now. So I always have big belief on the importance of education in changing people and in changing countries, in changing the world overall. So this is the key. For me, education is the key for change. Education is the key for success. And when we speak about education, is the education that is the quality education, when I'm speaking as an individual, education that you love to continue, not just because you are forced to go there.
Fantastic. And I want to pick up on that topic of education. Right now around the world, we have young people who are looking at education as I have to go. It's expected of me to go to university. What's your perspective on that? And how would you support a young person through those choices that they're making after secondary education?
Sure. See, when I speak about education, definitely we are like academic. We're always distinguish between schooling, which is the formal one, and education, which includes schooling, definitely college or university, or in school, and education in the over meaning of learning. So this is where I do encourage people, the young people, yes, education. This is how it has been planned, for ages. We need to go to schools and then to go to college generally. But now, especially now, the opportunities to learn, the opportunities to get educated from multiple sources of knowledge, multiple sources of experience. The key point is try to search, explore, find opportunities. I know sometimes I'm teaching some students right now, and I know they complain from the pressure of their schools or their university requirements. But again, now we are in a world that gives us all the opportunities to learn from everywhere. And that we are sometimes we are in a school in a certain specialization, but we might find ourselves after graduates of the school, especially in some places where not easy to find job, the same specialization that you have graduated from. But with your knowledge, with your experiences, try to get internship, try to interact with others, and the opportunities are there. I'm sure the future is there. Just learn from all available sources for you.
I'm going to take you to the purpose that you have highlighted for me. And you stated that your purpose is to contribute to the creation of a more tolerant world. How do you see your role in creating a positive impact to ensure that when you look back at your impact in the world, that you have paved the way for a more tolerant world?
I mean, I can start it when I was in the college itself. We coming from different villages, different regions in Oman, and we met. So I mean, I had lots of friends from different places. For the first time to meet people from different places in Oman, and then when I went to the United Kingdom. I stayed in a hall of residence, and probably I don't want to mention this is the only one, but probably one of the ones who have relationship with both, all nationalities in that residence. I used to have friends from 33 countries, in that, and I continue even visiting them. I travel to visit all those friends in different places in the world. This is where I found that. And then when I came back and I started working at the university, Sultan Qaboos University, I used to take students in summer programs. I took them to the UK and to Australia, to New Zealand for certain times, to live with Australian families, New Zealand, in New Zealand families, British families, and to interact with the culture in addition to learning the language. I continue also, as you see, my studies also relate to understanding and tolerance. Now, I always encourage my students to have the critical thinking, to accept others, to try to be part of the world and understand others. I remember, by the way, one of the things, when I was in the United States, I used to teach. I taught students there. I used to be a fellow teaching in the United States when I was doing my Ph.D. It was during September 11th, the event. I was there. So I went and I was discussing with my students. All of them were Americans. I told them, I started this discussion, to attract them. I said, why do you hate us? It's right a week after September 11th. They said, we don't hate you. I said, no, you hate us. And then they said, no, we don't. You hate us. I said, hold on. You are my students. I used to be your teacher before. You hate me? They said, no. I said, I don't. I love you, actually. And this is the idea. Let's understand that we don't need just to depend on one source of knowledge. Try to explore, try to meet each other. And I'm sure the world will be a better world if we understand, explore what others have, not just depend on a source of knowledge that might not be always true.
And what you're really saying is what your mission statement is, and that's to drive change in education, not just in Oman, but beyond, and a more driven towards critical thinking. So what you were really doing is asking your students to think critically about a real life incident and how it's having an impact, a negative impact on humankind. Would you say that that's something that you were thinking about when you were a younger student, maybe use different language or a different way to approach that? And if not, the world is a very different place today. AI is rampant. It's ever changing how we live and how we're learning. Do you believe that young people can get to a place of critical thinking, even though they might be young teenagers?
Critical thinking probably now is more important than previously, because now there are many sources of knowledge. Many, the generations are now spending all the time in their, smartphones, in their different devices. So for me now, it's the importance of critical thinking is more, so that they can be able to distinguish what is right, what is wrong. Even sometimes the definition of right and wrong definitely differs from person to person. But at least this gives the opportunities for the students and for the young generations to explore and develop their critical thinking. What do I mean by critical thinking in particular is the ability to decide what's going on, how I can see my role in this, what is right, what is wrong. We know that there are different meanings for wrong and right, but at least the one it works with the logic, it respects cultures, it makes that even other people have their own cultures and have their own beliefs. So this is where we need critical thinking that help us to distinguish and to live in tolerance world.
Let's talk about your positionality as an education expert, but also in your previous role. Would you say that title and ranking has a larger impact on change in education, or do you believe that educators, regardless of their ranking, can have a positive impact on education?
Definitely, when you are in a higher ranking, you're supposed to have more opportunities to make a change because you have the authority, you have the knowledge. And here, if you'll go again to my PhD thesis, knowledge is power. So when you are in a higher ranking, definitely you have the knowledge, which is a strong power, and you have also the authority to make the change. But sometimes also there are other reasons that prevent you when you are there. The difference between being in a higher rank and in if less or lower rank here is the space of making the change. Everybody can do the change. For example, if I speak about the difference between a change done by a minister or by an undersecretary and a change is done by a teacher, definitely the teacher can do big change in his students, probably more than what a minister or undersecretary can do. But again, the scope of undersecretary or a minister is bigger because it goes to the policies, to the strategies. So this is the advantage. Everybody can contribute to the change. But again, how is the space and who is the target and what are the mechanisms of doing the change?
Brilliant. I love how you brought that up. So essentially, everyone can have a positive impact. But the power for change, I think it's also about perspective, isn't it? An undersecretary or a policymaker is thinking larger numbers, the masses, the larger impact in terms of the procedures, the policies. But an educator in a classroom is looking out at the classroom and saying, the young people in my classroom, I want to make a positive impact, a life-changing impact on these individuals. Now, I want to bring it back to perspective of young people. And this is what we aim to do whenever we have conversations where we're looking at career insights from professionals just like you, in that my concern is that young people look up, they aspire to be like Dr. Al-Harthi. But we know that at 15, you were not who you are today. You are an example of your life experiences and your learning. If you could give a young person a top tip on how to find their way forward and how not to get lost in the fear that they might be feeling because they think that they won't do it the right way.
I think for me, what motivated me from the beginning is being confident on my skills, in my abilities in general. So we need to build our confidence. We build our motivation. And also, when it comes sometime, we need to be realistic. But again, realistic doesn't mean that prevent us from thinking broadly, thinking to explore all the opportunities. And as I said now, even there is a big competition in the world now, but the opportunities are more available now because now we are not just focused on one space, on one place or one country. I think now the world is our limit now. So my tips is be confident, explore all the opportunities. Don't link yourself. I know some students or some young people just say my specialization is engineering, so I should focus on engineering, or my specialization is education, so I should focus on education. It's the other way. You should focus on specialization and study, but also explore the other opportunities. We know that people coming from different backgrounds, but they take their career in a different backgrounds. Again, what education is supposed to give is to give you the main skills, the life skills, the learning skills. Career is something that you could utilize your skills in the way that you study, and become a teacher if you study education, or become a doctor if you study medicine. But again, explore all the opportunities. So be motivated, be confident, explore all the opportunities, and always don't fear from the failure. For me, when the first time I was going to the United Kingdom, and it was it was very difficult for me because I was not able to speak English, but I managed to go there and study and then explore more. And you see, that trip to the United States, to United Kingdom at the beginning, and learning English opened all the doors for me. Now I'm meeting you. If I was afraid from taking that step, probably I'm not meeting you today.
I love that you have put that as one of your, one of the accomplishments in meeting me. I'm humbled. Dr. Al-Harthi, I am an advocate for education. I'm an advocate for young people finding intentional learning. And by intention, what I don't mean is taking a course to get a job. By intention, I mean finding a purpose. You found your purpose. You want to create a more tolerant world. What would your tip be for a young person to find their purpose? Because it's a lifelong journey. But how did they start, and how did you identify that was your purpose? I think that's the learning that I want a young person to gain from this question.
I think sometimes when you find I don't want to talk about it as something inherited, but always our purposes sometimes it comes to us without plan. What I'm saying, it's reflect our personalities overall. But definitely, your education or the students' education, their exploration of surrounding environments and other things. That will they start, creating their purpose of life or purpose of work. And I'm sure this get developed year after year, and probably in a certain time might change the career somehow. Okay, but overall, the purpose, if you go and ask most of the students now, or if you ask people, if you ask me now after 30 years of experience in work, it's almost the same purpose, but in a different stages, which is to make a change and use education as a key for this change. So the idea here is believe on your own desires, in your own motivation. I do believe on the importance of the self-feel, the inner feeling for people to decide their purpose in life. Okay, listen to others, listen to your families, to your tutors, to friends, but at the end, bring all this and put it in yourself. If this is the right thing I'm looking for, if this is the correct way, the correct path I'm going for, because I know some people, because they were not confident what they want, they found themselves not continuing the path they continue in.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you for your time. And I could keep going on and asking you lots of questions, but I'm very conscious of time. Dr. Al-Harthi, it has been such an honor to speak with you and learn from your career journey, learn from your passion for creating a tolerant world, but also your commitment to being on platforms like this and speaking about the empowerment of education. I think it goes without saying that anyone that you are having an impact or having a conversation with is definitely creating that positive impact. So thank you for being with me today.
Thank you. It was a pleasure, and wish you and for everybody, all the best in this, in this time of a word for me, it's the word of opportunities, regardless of the challenges, but it's a word of opportunities, a word to know each other. Things are available everywhere. So, learning opportunities are available everywhere. So let's benefit them. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you. And that brings us to the end of another conversation. Today, I was speaking with Dr. Hamood Al-Harthi, who is the founder and CEO of Majan Education. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you at my next careers interview.